Hi everyone, we're posting on SoundCloud again because it's a forgotten platform. And
Yeah,
you know, you
Yeah.
remembered.
that's what my opinion is.
There you go.
Anyway,
So this is kind of like it's not a particular episode or anything, we're just kind of,
yeah, just wanted to do like a casual conversation.
kind of behind the scenes kind of thing, but you don't actually see what happens because we stop the camera.
Yeah, but actually, come to think of it, are you going to pre-order your tickets for Solo or no?
I'll watch it when it comes out, man. Like, I don't know, because like the thing is, right, every trailer that I've seen so far is kind of underwhelming. I'm not hugely interested currently.
Really?
in
'Cause
the
I'm-
thing.
Love the structure and the style of the trailers a lot.
I
think they're really catchy.
I don't know.
I think that's the thing.
I think the first trailer's kind of grown on me, but the second one is kind of alright. But it still doesn't make me really want to see the movie, because the main actor just still kind of like. And the funny thing about the main actor is, I saw him in another trailer for a film called The Yellow Birds or something like that,
Okay.
and that's when it hit me. He's just a discount Oscar Isaacs. Like, he looks like him and he acts like him, but he's just like
It should have been
like budget
Poe.
version of him.
Poe, a Star Wars story they should have done first with him in it.
Well, yeah, because
Despite the fact that Oscar Isaac's still young enough to be Oscar Isaac.
Well, yeah, but that's basically it. It's like when you watch Poe Dameron in the films, he's kind of like basically like how they're trying to interpret young Han Solo, which is basically like practically the same character, and that's why I'm kind of like put off by it, because I feel like Poe Dameron and Han Solo are definitely like two different characters.
Well, I think the thing is that the one line which kind of not sold me on him being Han Solo, but kind of convinced me I should give him a chance was the one where he goes like, "What do you think?" What do you know? Because that's such a Han Solo thing to say.
Yeah.
That
True.
is like this. Poe wouldn't be like that. That's the thing for me.
I don't know. Poe would also be kind of like, you're saying things, but I'm not.
No, but he would be like, "What do you think?" Don't worry, it'll be fine. He'd be like that. It's like he'd be almost like reassuring.
Yeah,
whereas,
true.
Han's like, "Oh, I know better than you."
True. Still, the biggest problem that I have is that they're trying to portray, they're still trying to portray Han Solo as a very ambitious individual, and that doesn't necessarily work for me. Because in the films he's not.
Yeah, I think the odd thing for me is though everyone who says, "Oh, no one could play Han Solo like everyone who claims Han Solo is Harrison Ford's the best Han Solo ever," I would always say to them, "You do realize the guy you're proclaiming is the best Han Solo is actually the guy who hates Han Solo the most."
Yeah,
It's pretty ironic to think
It makes
about.
sense though, because Han Solo hates himself quite
True.
obviously.
True, but to be fair, that may not have been like an original character thing for George Lucas. It may just have happened just because Harrison Ford just didn't like him and didn't care.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have even been acting. It just would have been Han Solo. Not Han Solo. It would have been Harrison Ford being a dick.
Well, yeah.
Which,
But that's basically it.
Like I will always love Han Solo. But that's the thing. I like Han Solo the character. I don't care for the guy who's playing him.
No.
I don't have anything against Harrison Ford. I just think about him.
It's like, I don't know, he just doesn't do much interesting stuff, especially right now. Like, what has he done? He's played Han Solo, he's played Rick Deckard again.
That's the thing. He's just done a bunch of remakes.
Yeah, but like
He hasn't done anything new in a while.
Yeah. I mean, the last thing that I saw him in that was kind of original-ish was the third Expendables film, and that's like a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And he was still like practically playing himself.
Yeah. That's the thing. I guess like the thing is with. I guess this is always the problem with any movie that you think of. People will always have their predetermined judgments, because I'm withholding all judgment of the film until I actually see it.
I kind of want to agree with that.
Because I think that's the thing is. You can only get so much. Like that's the thing. Trailers are always a good tool to find out what the film is going to be like, but it's never going to tell you exactly what it's going to be like.
That's true, especially when it comes to Disney.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Because that's the thing about, especially with Star Wars films, they withhold so much information in the trailers. I mean, like that's the thing. Even in Infinity War, they did tell the Infinity War trailers. They told you quite a bit.
They told you quite a bit, but what I actually I was thinking about the other day, what I really appreciated about the trailer for Infinity War is that using CG, they altered all kinds of things, such as the amount of Infinity Stones in the gauntlet at each time.
Mm.
They had Thor with an eye patch, like in a lot of scenes where in the film he ended up not having the eye patch. And like they did the same for Thor Ragnarok as well, which I was quite impressed by.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing is as well for me is hard chairs getting to my ass. I need something softer to sit on.
There you go.
We're sitting on really uncomfortable wooden chairs.
Yeah.
Oh, that's better. All right, but I think also the thing as well for me is that like you look at the two comparisons. Marvel trailers are misleading, whereas Star Wars trailers just don't tell you anything.
Yeah, that's
pretty much because they go. Star Wars trailers go on the pedigree. It's Star Wars. You get an idea what's going to happen. Whereas with Avengers, it's like you have an idea, so we're going to put you in a different direction. So when it actually does happen, you won't see it coming, kind of thing.
Yeah, but then in Marvel that works, and in Star Wars it doesn't. Because Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Yep, it's time for that again. I brought it up.
I don't want to talk about fan bases anymore. That's
it's too much, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like Last Jedi's had its moment. It's passed. The hate train is not. I prefer the hate train isn't slowed down. It's just less vocal now.
Yeah, even though we shot a sketch for it and it's still not been released. So when it does release, people are going to be like, "Oh, you're still on that." But then it's funny because at work currently, like with my coworkers, I still complain about that film on a daily basis, and usually it's them starting the conversation as well.
Yeah.
Like just going like, "Oh, the Last Jedi is not a Star Wars movie."
Like that's the thing. Like I think the thing is, all I can sum up is to most people is that you don't have to like the Last Jedi. I never claim that to anyone, but you have to respect it. As with
I don't know. I personally don't necessarily do that.
Because I think that the thing is, I say to people is you complained and whined. A lot of you complained and whined so much when The Force Awakens came out, and that they didn't do anything new, and then they did what you wanted, and then you still continued to whine and complain.
Not necessarily though. They didn't do what people wanted. They did what they thought people would like better, which is a film full of twists and turns and
exactly because
kind of unexpected.
That's
that
the thing.
Was different from before.
I'm actually going to say this. I know it's going to start a lot of controversy. Star Wars fans got exactly what they want: twists, turns, controversy, and a Star Wars film that was unlike any other.
Right.
They got exactly what they wanted, and then they realized that's not what they wanted.
The thing is, it was unlike any other because it was essentially not really like the thing is, if all of these films, like if you had this film, and you took out the name Skywalker and the name First Empire or whatever, it's practically not a Star Wars film anymore.
Yeah.
Like it could be interchangeable for literally any other sci-fi film. Also, the point that I wanted to bring up is the problem I have with respecting this film. And again, I fully realize that we're still on this, but the problem that I have with respecting this film is that the filmmakers don't respect the fans, in a way, by creating all kind of, like making this film with all kinds of elements in it that clearly say, oh, you know, you wanted something cool here, you wanted a film that makes sense, and his story was actually pretty decent. Well, fuck you. Because this, you can't deny the story was really weak.
To be fair, my philosophy now is, I don't deny that. I don't think the film is without its flaws, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And I think it's definitely tied with Revenge of the Sith in terms of the pecking poll. But episode 1 and 2, I'm sorry if you're a fan who says episode 1 and 2 are better.
No, 1 and 2 are still worse.
You're wrong, and you've let your hatred blind you of what's true. Can't you see? Episode 1 or 2 evil. From my point of view, The Last Jedi is evil. See, that's what you are. Yeah. That is what you are. Don't tell me that's a good lie, that's a terrible... Anyway, moving on. Sorry,
I'm still going to agree with you that 1 and 2 are still worse than The Last Jedi. What I will say is that The Last Jedi is far less enjoyable.
I could give people that. But
especially episode 2.
I will say...
You watch it for the memes at the end of the day, but still, like...
But the thing is, the memes only show up at the end of the film. The first, 2 hours of the film is literally just a shitty Twilight movie.
That's the meme.
That's not a good meme. It's
not
a funny
meme.
meme.
It's still funny.
No, it's not even a funny meme. It's a sad meme.
Oh, it's a sand meme, am I right?
I hate sand. It gets everywhere. Well, I was so confused as to what sand does. Thank you for enlightening me. But no, the other thing is I will say is if fans complain that Star Wars filmmakers didn't respect the fans, I want to point out, when have ever fans been respectful of filmmakers? When have fans been respectful of anything?
That's okay. Well,
almost never. I can very rarely think of a time where I can think of, oh yeah, that fan base was respectful. No. Star Wars fans are among the worst,
no,
most
I mean, fan bases
disrespectful.
are toxic altogether. But like, if you talk about like basic fans, like, I feel like a lot of Marvel fans have always been supportive of the content that's been created.
And that's the thing. I think, oddly enough, the less toxic fans are the ones who typically aren't the ones. They may not like The Last Jedi, but they don't hate it. And that's the major difference I state between a fanatical person who just hates it and disrespects it, between a fan who may not respect it, but at least doesn't go out thrashing it every single day to make themselves feel like, oh yeah, I'm part of the crowd because everyone hates it, therefore I seem like a fan.
Well, I don't necessarily like trash it because I want to be part of a crowd or anything. It's
Yeah,
just
I know
more like
you
because it's a genuinely horrible film in a saga of films that I would, that I grew up with and would have liked to see better of.
Yeah. Because I think
that's the thing. This film is disappointing more than it is anything.
I think that's the thing as well, because I was able to step back and look at it saying, okay, it's not just a Star Wars film, it's something else. And that's the thing. It's not a great film, but it's still a decent film. The casino scene holds it back, but everything else in the film, in my opinion, is still...
The casino scene and everything around that whole storyline, all the subplots, except for, honestly, in my opinion, the Rey and Luke subplot was fine. But, like, the whole thing with the fleet almost dying out, the whole we gotta save the animals thing, like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
Like, you sacrifice yourself to save some fucking animals on a planet that you never go to. But then when Finn tries to sacrifice himself for a genuine cause, you stop it. And practically doom everyone.
I didn't like Rose in that film. I think she had potential, but I didn't.
She had no potential from the start. Cause
her dead sister's good potential. The loss of a loved one at the beginning of any film. I don't care what people say about Batman or Superman and the constant
it would have been better if she stayed on the ship, because then she would have been part of the people who was against Poe, because she would hold a grudge against him for essentially leading her sister into
I think
death.
actually
Instead, she
on the idea of continuing about other episodes for our official podcast is we could do an episode of how we would have done episode 8 differently, or perhaps would have added in perhaps. And I know obviously that's a bit of a I even said we shouldn't do that, but perhaps it might be worth one day doing it. And
I for sure would have done differently, and that's the majority of, like, I'm sorry, but mainly female characters that were in it, I would have not had in there in the first place.
Yeah, like how Saving Private Ryan had no man. I love that. That was just so brilliantly done.
Yeah.
It was a real fuck you.
I saw a couple of those actually. And
hey guys, now it's happened. Now there's no one left because of Thanos.
Have you seen as well, like, Reservoir Dogs without the men? That was shitty though. That didn't quite work. But because basically, even in shots where there weren't any men present physically, you could still hear them. Yeah. So kind of took.
Because I bet also the thing is, the person who edited The Last Jedi and took out all the women took them all out except for Leia, which is once again bias and favoritism. And that's the thing. If you're going to say no women, you have to follow through and say no women, including Princess Leia.
Here's the thing. Again, like the original female characters that were made for this film, I would take out, because I think there were only 2 of them, unless I'm disregarding some. Actually, no, there was the Admiral on board, not Admiral, sorry, the captain, whatever, that helped Poe with the uprising. She was fine.
Yeah.
She didn't have a personality, but she was fine. But like, Holdo gone, because I find it really weird that there was a vice admiral that no one had ever heard of, and refused to share a plan, and then is hailed as a hero. I thought that was ridiculous.
Okay, because I was about to say, if you didn't follow through by saying someone no one had heard of, because it's like, oh yeah, like everyone heard of Admiral Akbar until episodes. He wasn't in episode 4 or 5.
That's different, because during episode 4 and 5, and even 6, the rebellion was much stronger than the resistance was in the in the sequels.
Yeah.
So I feel like if there's new characters,
I think that's the thing.
They really have to earn their rank in a way.
I think that's the thing as well. Yeah, I think that's the thing. If they had Admiral Haldo as a vice admiral, even the characters hadn't heard of, that way it would have been she would have had something to prove.
Yeah.
And I think, as well as I mentioned before, I would have liked the arc where everyone, including Finn, remains on the ship and there's a spy on board and they're basically trying to find out who it is. And Admiral Haldo thinks it's Finn, hence why she's not willing to share her plan, because she's afraid Finn will tell the First Order. But I think that would have been a more interesting arc to follow.
Yeah, I feel like they mistreated Poe throughout most of the film.
Yeah, only enough because usually I typically say to most Star Wars fans that their attitude to the whole feminist thing is exactly how they all have the attitude to fucking Mad Max Fury Road, which I think is a brilliant film, and it's not a feminist,
It's a brilliant film. I feel in mostly visuals, the story is alright, but the thing that I like about it, the thing that I don't get about it is that everyone says that it's such a staple for feminism, when really I think quite the opposite, because
oddly enough,
Charlize Theron was really good.
But Max does a lot of the work. In fact, he does
a lot of the work.
No, Mad Max does most.
That's what I'm saying. He's doing most of the work, but she. I mean, the thing is, she is quite badass in the film, and she's really good. But all of the characteristics about her are generally characteristics that go with male characters.
Yeah.
She was barely female in that film, so what you're saying then is a female character is a good character if she's a male character instead of a female character.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work for me. I like.
Yeah.
For instance, Wonder Woman, excellent. That's funny enough a film that most feminists hate because she's too feminine.
Feminine, yeah.
But then that's what I love about Wonder Woman is that she's
still feminine, but she's also still a warrior.
Yeah.
That's the thing, yeah.
And we're rooting for her to do the right thing, even though she is her own character, and she's not. I mean, it's not like I would have cared less for her if she was like, oh, okay, that's a baby. But her reactions to the new world made sense.
Yeah, also because I think that's the thing. It's very human, her reaction. Obviously, you would say men would have.
That's maybe what I like.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing. Her reaction, a man would have a different reaction to seeing a baby for the first time. It would probably be slightly more negative, but also at least it's honest. Then women would have a more positive opinion of a reaction to a baby, whereas men would go, "What the fuck is that thing? Why is it so?"
Except if it's a really ugly baby, which is not completely impossible.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing as well, is that I think first off, I like Wonder Woman. I think it is slightly overrated because I hear a lot of the time like some people saying, "Oh, it deserves an Oscar," and blah blah. I think no, it doesn't.
No, I mean.
Maybe nominations for certain things, but
it should
definitely
be nominated
not.
for stuff for sure, because I feel it's revolutionary, because it's one of those films that shows that a female-led superhero film can be good, and it's not that hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just have someone competent doing the film.
Yeah.
Because again, we've had Catwoman.
We've had Tomb Raider films. We've had
Tomb Raider. I'll be honest. I was gonna watch the new one, but I missed it in cinemas.
Yeah, I did too.
I would have liked to see it though, because it looked really cool.
It did. Yeah, it looked cool. I don't think it wasn't very good apparently, but apparently, like the thing is, I saw it. And I kind of thought, because that's the thing. I played when I remember playing the reboot of the games now, the very first one, and I loved it because that's the thing. That was also a very good feminist character, mainly because it could have been a man or woman, but more importantly because just how human she was.
Yeah.
She was no longer the eye candy with the big tits, pointy pyramid tits. She was a woman who had flaws. She was afraid. She didn't know what she was doing, and that was the part that was. Whereas the problem, I had a slight fear with the movies when I watch it, is like it seems like they made her look like that character and have taken out all those characteristics, and I don't like that because I like the idea of her starting out weak and not being the badass and then growing into that, which I think is always a much more interesting story for people like Lara Croft.
In this case, it would have been possible as well. Again, saying this without actually seeing the movie.
We haven't seen the movie yet.
But it's a girl who's grown up, I think, most of her life in London, which is a very like city area. There's not much survival in. I mean, yeah, of course there's survival.
Well, it's
in
not.
But it's not the same.
It's not the same. It's not terrifying.
Yeah.
To survive. Plus, she had a wealthy upbringing. Was probably raised just outside of London.
So she may be very intelligent, but in the jungle that might not actually mean anything.
Yeah.
I kind of hope that that's how.
It doesn't seem like it was. That was the problem.
They do have one of those great shots where like she's running up to like catch the wing of a plane or something, and then it collapses. That looks really cool.
Come on, really? I was like,
because that's how like all of these games like Tomb Raider and what's it called, Uncharted, like kind of start off with like something collapsing, and it just feels really good.
Yeah, because then it's like the characters that finally got to the top. You're like, yes. It's like no.
And then it crashes.
Yeah. How did you what was it? Did you see any of the trailers or stuff for the new video game Detroit Become Human?
I've not heard of it actually.
Detroit Become Human. You know, like the.
No, I have not seen anything much of it.
But you know the concept.
I know
game.
what it is. Yeah.
It's like a Beyond Two Souls / Telltale's kind of game. So basically, there was a recent trailer. Not recent. It was like quite a few months ago actually. For where it was basically about one of the androids was working in the home of a father and a little girl, and she was the caretaker and everything. And it was clear something had happened to her already. You know, the daughter, and there were drawings of the father having, you know, the robot at his feet completely broken apart, and it was clear something was off, and that it was an abusive relationship, that the father was abusing his daughter, and it. So basically, the trailer is just basically domestic child abuse. And the thing is, at the very end, it shows you the possible outcomes you could take. You could either not do anything, or do something and the father could die, or just, you know, knock out the father.
This sounds kind of familiar.
Yeah. You may have seen the trailers, you just may not remember.
No, I may have heard about the controversy around it.
The controversy was the fact that people were like, oh, you can't show child abuse or abuse of any kind, domestic abuse in any kind. And what was so funny, because I remember seeing someone who actually posted a comment like that on YouTube, and a person followed up saying, I have been in that situation. I've been in a domestic abuse situation. I can tell you right now, not offended.
Well, yeah,
and I was like, that's the thing. People, also, I think this sort of goes into the idea that people are too easily offended on behalf of other people, of which they have no idea what they've said. And I think that's the thing, is that the video game looks really interesting, and it looks really good. And I think that's the thing. Those kind of people say it's offensive and say they shouldn't talk about it because it could hurt people, and therefore...
It's fucking dumb.
Yeah, because then they're trying to say, oh, we're trying to make it better by making it disappear, so that way it doesn't exist. It's like, no, of course it exists.
No, because...
The Holocaust existed, people swept it under the rug and pretended it didn't happen. 6 million people still died. Doesn't change anything.
Yeah, and, you know, there's a lot of people who kind of like to pretend that, especially, like, people from mostly, like, South kind of Germany as well, who kind of, and Argentina as well, who are mostly Germans, but like, who kind of would like to believe that, or like to tell other people that the Holocaust didn't happen, and that other people are kind of trying to silence people who talk about Holocaust because it's such a heavy concept. Meanwhile, at the other end, there's all the Jews who keep making fun of the Holocaust and like trying to diminish it. Like, look at, well, me. Yeah. Look at Mel Brooks. Look at I don't know, like there's a bunch of people who keep like making jokes about the Holocaust, and to me, as a Jew, it's fucking hilarious if you do it right. Of course, like people who keep making repetitive bad jokes about it, like that's not necessarily offensive from the point of view of like a Jew offended because they're talking about the Holocaust, as much as offended as a comedian who hears a really bad joke. Yeah,
I think.
But
that's the thing. The first step to trying to fix the world is, like I said, it's also the first step to fix. I have the 2 very simple steps to fixing yourself. I'm going to tell you guys this one first. First, admit you have a problem.
Yes, that's the...
Second off, do something about it.
That's the way.
I've done the first step. I have no intention of doing the second. Because, you know, there's the other ones like, oh, if you're not happy with who you know, you should always be happy with who you are and never change, blah, blah. It's more complicated. But back on the subject of, like, with history more so, it's very simple stuff if you want to fix the world. First off, you have to admit the world has had a problem and acknowledge the history of it. And then the second step, don't forget it. Yeah. Basically, that's very simple. Don't forget it. Remember it and learn from it.
That's the slogan that came out of the Holocaust, is never forget.
People exactly.
Seem to
they want to forget. It's like, no, you can't. It's... Because that's the thing I say. The problem is, as well, a lot of people have already done it, and the problem is it's already produced a horrible result. Because I was saying to people, the problem is appeasement. Essentially, that's how it all came across. And now you look east into Russia, you're appeasing him. And he's not doing a Holocaust, but he's locking people up in gulags.
Well,
he's killing.
Not as bad as Stalin.
He's not not as bad as Stalin, but still, he's evil.
He's evil, but the thing is, he's not necessarily locking up as many people in the gulag as much as like kind of disregarding people by if they're gay, yes, he locks them up in the gulags. But if it's like people protesting for freedom, he just goes like, they're cute, and just kind of walks away.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's the thing, is saying it's clear people haven't learned from history.
Because they don't
I think that's the thing. People don't want to learn from history because they would say, oh, they would rather rewrite history and say, oh, now is the starting point. Now is like, NF, it's 2018 NF, new future or something like that. Where it's like, no, it's not. You're disregarding, because it's 2018 now. I mean, it's been 100 years now since the end of the First World War. Like, and yet you still, like, it feels like people, like, the First World War is an afterthought. Yet 10 million people died, and a really pointless war, which didn't have any fucking, concentration camps. It didn't have a Holocaust. It was just a pointless war.
I mean, remember the setup to that, like why the war actually happened. Like, it's because in this country, someone was killed by someone from this country, and that country.
And that country declared war.
This country.
And that country declared war on that country. Then this country declared war on that one. And it was just a domino.
But not because they didn't declare war because they actually wanted to go to the war. It's because they attacked one of their sworn allies, and they were like, oh, "Okay, you're next."
Yeah.
That's how that. It's like if you and I were to have a fight, and then your friends, because I insulted you, would start a war against my friends.
Yeah.
And it was not because they have anything necessarily against each other. It's because you mess with my friend, now I'm gonna mess with your friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's.
And like the thing about like forgetting history, for instance, is it's the 7th of May as we're recording this, probably as we have this go live. So that means that in a week's time, that's the 14th, is going to be the 70th birthday of the State of Israel. That state literally started in war, and in everything about it is so vague currently. Like, I know slightly more about it because I've actually like done the research. Like, I've looked into it. I went to I mean, I haven't been to Palestine obviously because I can't, but I've been to like all kinds of museums in Israel. I've read about it from external sources, and so I have a pretty decent picture of like what happened. But a lot of people kind of forget about it and don't really regard it as such, and see the Israelites as invaders of some sort, even though it's kind of like a Exodus 2 in a way.
Yeah.
But it's such a fucking crossfire of vagacies and confusion that people currently really don't know who's in the right and just pick a side depending on what the media says.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
People don't know what happened, nor are they bothered to actually do the research to it.
Yeah.
And for instance, that's how, like, for instance, I saw this thing recently. This is Conan visiting Israel, where he like went through like a couple of things, like, you know, the things you have to do, like the Dead Sea, Tel Aviv, and like all that. At some point, he went to Jerusalem, and I think after that he went to the West Bank, like actually like at the other side of the wall, where he was approached by people who were angry at him because he said, "Oh, you're being so great, talking so great about Israel, but look at the atrocities that they're doing here, even though nothing happens there." And then after that, there's an episode where he goes to an Israeli hospital at the Syrian border, where they're taking in victims of the Syrian civil war. That they actually tend to, and have people who speak Arabic, so they can be like, you know, they feel more welcome around there. You know, it's kind of like there is no truth there. Everyone is saying this is the truth, but there is no truth there because everyone, first of all, doesn't want to do the research, and second of all, so sure that they're right, but people forget the history or put it away, and they don't know what happened. That's the kind of thing that could happen.
I guess all we can simply say is, guys, the very simple solution to all this is everybody love everybody, the world will get a better place.
Exactly.
That wasn't even Tommy was of it still.
And get rid of the Jews, because, you know,
of course.
either it's our fault or it's someone else's fault. It's always about us. So just
I think that's the other thing is, coming to think of it as well, the other thing is about terms of history and people wanting to forget it. Also the fact that people don't just forget it, people don't acknowledge it. Americans celebrate Independence Day, Thanksgiving, and all this, and I always point out to them, you're always worried about the first female president, the first black president. You guys aren't even American. You've never actually had a real American president. And they go, what do you mean? Native American. You know, the people who were there first.
Yeah, exactly.
Not the colonizers, not the slaves that came over afterwards. They were there and you've never had one. Yet you've always complained about not having, and don't get me wrong, yes, there should be a female president, yes, there should be a black president, but there should probably... if they're worth it, but there should also probably be just as equally, if anyone has an actual right to say, we deserve this, not because we've earned it, because of everything else, is us, the Native Americans, simply because they've been put through hell. But obviously, I think because a lot of their culture says that won't actually happen. They have their own rules and typically everything. But I think that's the thing is that I like to say to Americans, Thanksgiving is you celebrating the fact that you slaughtered Indians. And obviously you've changed the meaning, but if you've changed the meaning, at least change the date you celebrate it on then.
And change the name and change everything about it.
Change and you have to change that at least now because you are actually celebrating. I know, obviously, they all say that's no longer what it means, and some of them will even say that's never what it meant. It's like, yes, that is exactly what it is. Is giving thanks to the fact that you now own this land, essentially.
Well, yeah.
And the other thing is as well, Independence Day. It shouldn't be. It should be we gained fucking whatchamacallit, not independence. We gained.
Isn't that it though?
That's the thing, though. That's the thing. They're still British citizens, so they're rebelling against their own government. They're rebelling against their own people. So it's not really an independence because they're already. It's weird. It's more of a. Because there's the thing. I would say more independence if the Native Americans rebelled and won. Then they regained their independence. Whereas people fought to. Individualism. That's probably what it is.
Isn't it the same as like Belgium and the Netherlands, where like Belgium fought for independence and then got it, and then 9 years later, the Netherlands was like, okay, you got it.
Yeah.
You know, something like that.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I think. That's the thing. Americans are so quick to, not all of them, but you hear some of the horror stories about how Americans and they, whatever Americans, you hear some of them say, "Oh, we saved your asses in the war." It's like, yes. You saved yourselves because you were us. You were still English. You are not an American because you were not from America originally. You were from, if not England, at least somewhere else in Europe.
Yeah.
All of you have European heritage. Actually, except that guy. Why? He's black. He's from Africa. Well, that's probably why. He's Asian. Guess where he's from? Probably North somewhere Dakota. In Asia. Yeah, North Dakota. But that's the thing. It's like, obviously now, I identify myself as English Australian, but English first because, well, English people are white, Australians are Aboriginal, and there's so few of them left. And that's the thing is, it's not me trying to claim that I'm smarter or better than people. It's just me saying I try to at least acknowledge the fact that we have done horrible things, and us. And that's the thing is, well, Australia Day has another name, which is basically it's also Invasion Day to a lot of people because that's the day a lot of the.
How do you feel about Australia Day, by the way?
I think it needs. I didn't care originally, and I typically don't care because I don't live there at the moment. But it's one of those things where I think it probably should be moved and the name should be changed. However, there should be a day there which should be it should be changed to maybe a memorial day for the Aboriginals that were all slaughtered or something. I mean, or an acknowledgement day at least. We need to acknowledge that this is not a day to celebrate. This is a day to mourn or something.
Yeah, but shouldn't there also kind of be a day to celebrate because the whole thing about
not being part of the British Empire.
Yeah, and like not being a prison state.
I think oddly enough Australia has more cause to be celebrate than America because we were a prison state. We weren't the new world. We were a world where no one wanted us.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. Australia has more cause to celebrate for that reason. I think there should be some sort of an Australian Independence Day, but it probably shouldn't be on the day we invaded. That should be a mourning day. It should be more probably the day the UK officially announced us as our own individual sovereign country.
Right.
That should be the day we were announced as an actual country and not an imperial colony.
Yeah, that's the thing though, is what I do feel is that Australia Day is obviously celebrated by the Australian people, not the British people, because obviously it has more to do with like not being a prison state anymore.
Yeah.
So in that sense, is it the Australian people who invaded, or is it the British people who invaded to put the people there that would eventually be the Australian people?
It's the British who invaded and left the Australians.
So, in a way, the Australians aren't necessarily guilty of anything.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I would say, the convict term is, people go, oh wait, there is a state filled with convicts, so all murderers and rapists? Yes, and people who stole a loaf of bread for their starving families. There are people who went there who didn't deserve to go there. But it's more so, I think the date should change. Maybe not the name or the reason for celebration, but the date, in my opinion, should change.
Yeah, and then the current date for Australia Day should be
the acknowledgement of invasion, To at least for us saying, look, we've acknowledged of our horrible history, and we're willing to try and work on it.
But here's the thing, who's celebrating in the loosest term, for lack of a better term? Is that the Australian people or the British people?
For Australia Day?
Yeah.
It's Australians celebrate it.
No, but more like that, Invasion Day. Like, who should be doing the memorial thing of Invasion Day? That would be the British people, right, in a way.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, the British people fucked up a lot of countries.
Oh, yeah. Every imperial European country fucked up a lot of countries. You look throughout a lot of Southeast Asia, that was mainly French. Cambodia, Vietnam.
Vietnam is also Americans, which is indirectly the
Yeah,
British.
exactly. I think that's the thing is the French, Spanish, and English especially have all three of them have a lot to answer for.
And
More
the
so,
Dutch.
and the Dutch. Yeah, that's right. All three of them all four of them, sorry, have a lot to answer for. Britain probably more so than the others, but they all have a shit ton to answer for.
Yeah, because Britain, more than all the other countries, I feel, left the country in a very shitty state for the people to kind of sort it out, and people were like, well, we're
Yeah.
not really having this.
And I think the thing is, Britain tried to make up for it afterwards by introducing the Commonwealth, which was, not just for the Commonwealth Games, which I think isn't as much for trade, but it could be for trade. And I think that's the thing. The Commonwealth should be redirected as a system that's not about unifying countries. It's about helping other countries.
Right.
Which they're never going to do, because everyone in Britain hates everyone else, because that's why Brexit happened. I don't want to talk about Brexit.
No, we're getting too political even for Brexit, but like.
But I think that's the thing is that it's one of those things where Holland, Spain, France, and Great Britain. While it probably won't mean anything anymore, an apology will at least show that people we've acknowledged our problem, well, not problem of our wrongdoings, and we're now going to actually try and fix it and try and make it up. And I think that's if all four of those countries have too much pride to do it, then fuck them. Fuck you, England. You don't deserve anyone's respect. Because I think that's the thing. All they need to do now to really sort of show that they're back on the right path is just an apology.
Yeah.
To acknowledge that we fucked up and we're trying to fix it.
At the same time, we should not get too hung up over it.
No, that's the thing. I think
That's why
absolutely.
it should like be a day in the year, but like literally just a day in the year, and like just so like the British people, because you know how like the Germans still have the whole like is it Schadenfreude, where it's like we feel bad about that the war happened. They're so fucking apologetic about it. It's almost annoying.
Yeah.
Like, I remember going to Berlin like I don't know. This was like 4 years ago, or 5 years ago even. I think no, four and a half. Let's say I went to Berlin with like on a field trip or on a class trip. I stayed there for a week, and there was a obviously German guide there who was like showing us around, and we at some point went to the place where the Kristallnacht happened for the first time, where it started.
Yeah.
And she told us that in Germany it's not called Kristallnacht anymore because the crystal sounds like a beautiful thing. So the term is too beautiful for what the occasion was.
Yeah.
And that pissed me off because I was like, well, you've attached the term to it already, and it's a term that makes sense because the shattered glass looked like crystals flying in the air. It sounds beautiful, but also it sounds horrible because it's kind of like I don't want to say juxtaposition, but
It attaches something that should be beautiful to something that's evil.
Yeah.
And in a sense, what people say, it takes away the innocence, is like, well, that's kind of the point.
That's the point of it, yeah. So, you already called it Kristallnacht. Everyone else calls it Kristallnacht. Don't change it now. 70 years later. Don't change it now. You've already attached the term to it. Don't Britain, in a similar way, shouldn't be like that. Where, like, if I meet a British person and I go, I'm from Israel, they go like, oh, we're sorry, we fucked up your situation real good there. I'm like, you didn't do that. Your government did 70 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not you. It's the same. Do I go too far if I say this? Yeah, but I'm gonna say it anyway because Jewish people are in the same position. Black people in slavery, right? Just like Jewish people in slavery. Let it go, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go as far as Kanye and saying slavery was a choice because I don't believe that at all.
No, I think
although for Jewish people it kind of was.
No, it's one of those things where. It's one of those, actually quickly, I think it's a good subject to go into, is that, not a subject, it's a good thing to point out, I'll point out after this, is that first off, the two things that people need to do is, first off, admit it happened and acknowledge it, and second off, move on.
Yeah.
Accept that it's happened, accept that it's part of it, not try and forget it, but just say, we accepted it, we're going to never do it again, let's just continue. And that's the problem, oddly enough, a lot of privileged people, and typically the people who seem to whine about it the most, and say that, blah, 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 are white girls, white men, who point out all these things as major problems and say, they deserve our respect, we should always apologize to them. It's like, no, they don't look, you want to know who deserves our apologies? The people who had it happen to them several hundred years ago.
Yeah.
The people who were enslaved. The people who were locked up in gas chambers. The people now, well, they weren't part of that problem. Neither were we. We're a new generation. We shouldn't apologize for the wrongdoings of another generation. It's a very different thing, and I think that's the thing. I don't apologize for the wrongdoings of my ancestors for wiping out the Aboriginals. I don't. I acknowledge what they did was wrong, but I don't say it's not my fault.
Yeah.
I wasn't them. I wasn't there to stop them. I mean, even if I were, I probably wouldn't, because I probably would have been killed. In a similar mentality, saying a lot of Germans would have been shot dead if they had disobeyed orders.
Yeah.
A lot of it is fear. I'm not saying it forgives them of their crimes. I'm saying it lets me understand their problem and their point of view.
Yeah, but don't have the sins of the father come down to the children.
Exactly. That's the major, big
or
major.
The mother.
Pardon? Or the mother. I think that's the
Yeah.
thing that people try to constantly do and say is that, look, we aren't resolved of our father's sins. Yes, we are, because we are not our fathers. You cannot resolve the sins of someone else. That is their job to do, not ours. All we can do is just not repeat their sins.
Yeah, exactly.
That is apology enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the world is, and I was saying this to my friend the other day, actually, saying the world has become too PC and too sensitive.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I think that's the thing. As a great Australian comedian once said, I'll see if I can find him and send him to you. You probably have seen him, where he said, when did the saying "sticks and stones may break my bones" stop meaning anything? You know, if someone offends me, you know what? I've been offended. You know what I'm going to do? Nothing. You know what's going to happen from all this? Nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, he made the great argument saying, look, if I'm offended, do I get leprosy? No. If someone offends someone, do they get leprosy? No. There are no negative effects. Realistically.
The biggest thing that you could suffer from being insulted or something like that, or being offended, is maybe a sleepless night. Because that happens to me. Like, if someone pisses me off,
Yeah.
and gets me upset, I have a tough time sleeping. But that's like for one night, and after that, you know.
That's the thing. That's probably one person you may never see again, or anything like that. And that's the thing, is that people need to understand is that people have a right to say those things. You have a right to be offended. You also have a right not to give a shit about what they say. And that's typically my mode of thinking for anyone who says something offensive. If I take offense to it, I go, I'm never going to see this person, I don't care. I'm never, they're never going to directly affect me. And that's the thing that people need to understand, is that words, because this is the thing, a lot of people trying to legalize words like faggot, or, I'm going to say it, sorry if I offend people, nigger. Yeah, I know, right? Who gives a fuck?
The only reason I'm not saying that word is because I just genuinely don't feel 100% comfortable.
No, I neither do I. Because
it must have felt really weird.
Yeah, it does. It feels weird saying it, but that's the thing, is that that's the thing I say to people. So the problem is, words are not weapons. Words cannot kill people.
Yeah.
I mean, words can give orders to kill people. The thing is, you have to remember, in the end, people who do that typically have power.
Yeah.
And they typically don't say those kinds of things. They just act upon them. They just don't dive. And I think that's the thing, is that if you're hurt by words, I think obviously I will say to quickly people, there is a difference between being offended and someone who's being bullied. Because a bullied person is someone who's directly targeted by a group of individuals, which is different. Because some people have been killed by that, and that is a very different situation. You're not trying to offend that person. You're trying to emotionally scar that person, which is a very different situation.
Yeah, it's still bad though.
It's still very bad, and that part actually is one where I do say that is worth jail time, not because of someone using words, but because someone is actually trying to cause harm.
Yeah.
Psychological trauma, which is very different. A word cannot cause trauma, but a series of words consistently targeting one person over a period of time said by another person, that is a weapon. But that's very different.
Yeah, I mean, especially for the N-word, I'm not comfortable saying it, but I'm comfortable not speaking about it. It's basically, yes, kind of do feel like it should be kind of normalized, not because I feel like it's a normal word, but basically the meaning that it holds currently is really high. And I think we've spoken about IDubbbz before, and how we kind of respect what he's trying to do, and his great quote as well, where he at some point spoke about it, and he said that there's words like retard and faggot and stuff like that are equally bad for different groups of people, that people who don't say the N-word feel like myself as well, feel perfectly comfortable saying.
Yeah.
And his quote on that is either it's all okay or none of it is okay.
Yeah.
And I
Exactly.
agree with that. The thing about the N-word is it holds such a powerful meaning currently, because what it literally at this point means is a black person that is a slave.
Yeah.
Now, again, like I said, slavery is a thing in the past.
Yeah.
It wasn't a choice. Again, I'll stress that, but it's a thing that we personally, most of the black people in the world currently, don't necessarily deal with nowadays.
Yeah, exactly.
And if they do deal with it, if they are slaves in an illegal fashion as well, it's most likely not necessarily because they're black, but because they're in a very unfortunate situation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Again, Jews have been slaves as well, and I guess our God liked us better because He did help us get out. But again, it's not like I'm gonna if an Egyptian person offends me for being Jewish, I'll just go like, oh, slavery. I'll play the slavery card in this one. I can't do that.
Yeah.
Because it's far back in history.
Yeah.
And the people who are now Egyptians are not the people who enslaved my people. Who, by the way, I'm not necessarily part of as well, because I never experienced slavery. Luckily enough, that's how I kind of feel about the whole situation as well. It's like it's a thing of the past, and if we keep clinging on to it, we'll never get to a point where we actually reach what Martin Luther King actually professed about, which he said he didn't say anything about black supremacy. He said, "I dream of
a world where white and black children can play together in the same playground."
Exactly. Yeah. That's the one.
Not an exact quote, but roughly what he means. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's
and I think actually just quickly on, if we're going to go into the movie, Black Panther showcases the perfect situation. T'Challa represents that future of equality.
Yeah.
Killmonger represents the extreme situation of supremacy.
Yeah, like the Black Lives Matter type thing.
Which is like him saying, no, we're the supreme race.
I said it.
And, well, I'm the same with feminism. I think feminism is just, it's so evil now.
Oh,
but that's the so I think the thing is as well, is that we live in such a depressing world.
Feminism makes me gives me an allergic reaction.
Yeah. Now, once again, we're not against female equal rights, but we just hate feminists.
The thing
as most rational thinking people do.
The thing is, the idea of feminism is a great one, which is that women are equal to men. I agree.
Yes.
In a way.
Yes.
Not they're not the same as men.
Yeah.
They're equal. It's good to be different. Individually, but also based on gender. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's biology. I don't think that that men should get any rights that put them well above women, and I don't think that women should get any rights that put them well above men, on any front, on anything. I don't like, for instance, as well. There's these special grants in filmmaking for female filmmakers. I'm against that, because currently, it is the reason why there's less filmmakers. I've noticed this in film school as well. It's because there's less women interested in filmmaking at this point. There's less people applying for film schools and all that, and there's less women actually trying to go for the. I will say, it's probably mostly because a lot of women currently feel like they wouldn't be able to do it anyway because there's a more patriarchal society or whatever.
But the problem is
they're not going for it.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem lies. Is if they're not going for it, then of course they're not going to make it. There's no excuse for not going for it.
Yeah, because I would say to them as well that the simple fact is if you go for it now, you won't realistically get into the industry until 20, 30 years. You want to know something, women? That applies to us too.
Yeah.
We won't get to make the big films or any kind of film for another 15, 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
And do you want to know why? That's just how the industry works. You have to work hard to get there. And the thing is, in 20, 30 years, it's going to be a different industry where those patriarchal people probably aren't in charge as much anymore. They're going to be phased out by other people who are far more equal and far more willing to give chances to anyone who's just high quality and good at their job. And the thing is, if you stop applying, you're going to say, oh, there aren't enough women in the film industry. And then we can actually bluntly say, well, none of you were actually trying. None of you did try. And the thing is, if you try now, it's going to still take you 20 to 30 years to get to where everyone else is at. And I think the thing is as well, just sort of quickly, it's one of those things where I also don't deny that there's segregation still in the States. I heard about the situation where 2 black men in a Starbucks were arrested because they were just sitting there waiting for a friend, and there were Starbucks employees who thought that they were, fucking whatever, and they just called the police. Also, first off, don't boycott Starbucks for that reason, because that's probably to that particular area. I've never noticed that in an English Starbucks.
Not just that particular area, but probably that particular employee who just happened to be paranoid.
Exactly.
It probably, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, saying he probably didn't mean anything by it.
Yeah.
But it's still not a very good look on him.
Yeah. That's the thing, because I've never noticed anything like that here in the UK Starbucks.
No. UK Starbucks is kind of laid back like that.
Yeah, also because it's not actually filled with that many English people. It's typically people from other European countries.
Yeah.
Not trying to say that they shouldn't be here. I'm not one of those fucking Brexiteers. People love immigrants. I'm a fucking immigrant, for God's sake. I'm half Australian. That's all I am to my name. Plus I lived all over the world, but anyway. But I think the thing is, the world that we all sort of exist and live in together, is that the problem is, it's a situation where it's not hard to explain, it's just tiresome to explain to people that we're in a situation where that actually, because I think it's one of those things where, going back to sort of the idea of sort of, people saying certain words and people being offended by it, but the problem is when people say, I want to illegalize words like faggot, nigger, retard, all those sorts of things, you're probably living in a country which has freedom of speech. You're taking away people's right of speech, which defeats the purpose. Secondly, they have a right to say those things. As I've just said, you have a right to not give a shit and ignore them.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's, freedom of speech applies to you not giving a shit about someone else's opinion. Not taking it away from them. Not giving a shit about it.
Yeah.
That's the thing in the reality of a democracy. You have to let everyone have an opinion. Doesn't mean you have to listen to everyone's opinion. Not everyone
have to agree.
Yeah, you don't have to agree with everyone's opinion, especially. In fact, you probably shouldn't agree with most people's opinions. That's the problem. That's also the problem. And this extends to everyone, especially a lot of people who think that, I'm better because I'm not racist or homophobic or any of those things. Problem is, those people were taught to think in one particular way, typically, by their parents, by all this. And obviously it's not just
society problem.
It's a society problem. You're part of that problem as well, because you're saying that they can't be changed and that they can't,
Yeah. But also they're wrong because they're saying that they're right, and like I said, there is no truth.
Yeah, there is
that's a beautiful thing about life.
Everyone,
the truth is in it all depends on perspective.
Yeah, I think so. The one thing hopefully we can help some people by me saying this to anyone listening. The best way to look at it is everyone is right in their own opinion.
Yes.
And everyone else is wrong to that one person. And I sleep a lot better at night whenever I go to bed, realizing, what I see YouTube comments and hear things people say, and I just go, why would you, you're so fucking stupid, and I really want to change that person's mind, but then I always come to the conclusion at the very end of the day, I can't change their minds, but you want to know what the best part is? They can't change mine.
That's true. That's what's
And I'm happy with my choice, and I don't think I think it is better, but I'm not willing to call them out on it, and therefore I'm not willing to lose any sleep on it. Yeah. And that's the thing in the end, that's the best thing you can do, is just say, that person cannot change me and will not change me. Yeah. And that's the best part of it. And obviously in the end obviously accepting other people for everything is very important, but at the same time people are accepting all the right things but also becoming all the wrong things as well.
Yeah.
That's just, I know we're all being very weird and hypothetical and all very deep, but the problem is as well, by you saying, I accept black lives, blah, 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 but I also reject all these other people who reject them, well then you're not really any better than them because you're still rejecting people.
Yeah.
I don't like you, but I still accept that you exist and that you have an opinion and voice. Yeah, I don't like the racist people, I don't like the homophobic people, but you know what? I accept the fact they have a voice and opinion, I accept they existed, and I just move on with it.
Yeah, because there's nothing we can bring in.
There's nothing we can do about it. And unless any of you are willing to start a huge holocaust, of which I will be in charge of, by the way.
Sure, yeah, let's do it.
And that way I can put all of you in it, along with all the racist and homophobic people, and you can go, wait, but why am I worse? Because you rejected them, and by doing that you became them.
Yeah.
Oh. So how many people are being locked up in all these chambers? How many people are there? There are 8 billion people. 7.5 billion people. Yeah, no one seems to have gone smarter. Everyone seems to be pretty retarded. You want to know what the dumb thing is about the other 500 million people? What? They're all kids. They don't have an opinion yet.
Yeah. Once they get an opinion, they'll get locked up.
Yeah, once they get it. I'll be the sole survivor of the human race, which is the best part you realize, because when Thanos does that thing, there'll only be 50. There's no 50%. I am the only one, so therefore I will be wiped out.
And like, that's actually something that I've said in my professional life a couple of times as well. Is like,
what we need is a good cleansing.
yeah. But also, before I've said, if I were ever to work with an anti-Semite, right?
Yeah.
If he or she can do the work well, and I can work with them, and they don't like make it an issue that I'm Jewish, and they still do their work well regardless, then I'm willing to work with them. Yeah. I don't care that they hate Jews. That's their problem. I won't be able to change their mind.
Exactly, yeah.
I don't have to be friends with them. As long as they're willing to do the job, I'm willing to do the job. We can work together. We can do something good.
Exactly.
That's all that matters to me.
That's the thing, exactly.
If your opinions about people don't affect your life and like don't make you discriminate against them, like that's the thing. Racism, fair enough. You can't change that. People have their opinions. They have their judgment. It will change with an epiphany that we cannot control. Discrimination, that's where the line is drawn.
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
At the same time, I also feel like discrimination can be kind of a good thing because it can save people from being offended in a way. For instance, if there's a workplace where, let's say, gay people aren't allowed, that's maybe a good thing because maybe you don't want to be in a place where they don't like gay people in the first place.
Exactly.
So that's a very big sign of you just not going there.
Because I think that's always a good point to raise. People say, "Oh, they all deserve to go and work on those places." Do they really want to, though? Do you really want to work in a? Yeah. Do you want to work in a place where you are surrounded by people who hate you, just for what you are? Is that really a good idea, in your opinion?
I mean, should the KKK have openings for black people? Is that really a good idea?
We're a new KKK. We're more accepting. We now accept black people into our groups to help wipe out other black people. It's like, do you really want to be part of that group?
Do you really want to take inspiration from ISIS? Is that such a
good idea? I mean, really. But I think also the other thing is I would say to people is that the other thing is as well is that obviously we all tie this back to, once again, as we've said before, fanatics and fanaticism and how that's always a problem and how that is currently, in my opinion, the biggest current problem the 21st century face as a whole. It's just fanatics as a whole. But I think one of the other major things to point out to people is say that this is a major problem that we are all dealing with is people's inability to accept the fact that they don't possess an infinity gauntlet, therefore they can't change everything.
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing that will always help people sleep better at night, when you realize, when you wake up that one morning, and it happens for a lot of people, when you wake up that one morning, and I was one of those people going, I can't control anything. I can feel so much better now, like, everything's out of my control. You know, I think this is the simple realities that we're trying to end on a more positive note, I feel. You know, saying to people that, look, you know, world's a shitty place. If you're one of these horrible people, maybe one day you'll get better. If not, then we're not going to, you know, pursue you and fucking crucify you because we don't care about you. And if you are one of these people who's worried about those people, then don't.
Yeah, I mean,
not worth it.
The thing is, there is no good way to like end it on a high note because I'm pretty sure that at some point we'll just go like, man, we're so tolerant and open to people, and then we'll get so many comments and going like, you fucking Nazis.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm already expecting it, like, you fucking misogynist Nazis.
How dare you say feminism's a bad thing? Once again, we stated we support gender equal and racial equal rights, yet all,
then
you know,
are a feminist.
No, we're not, because there are a lot of... That's the thing I would say to... Quickly, if you're a feminist, and we've pointed this out before already in an episode of the podcast, but I need to make this clear. If you're not one of those feminists, the problem is you allow in those feminists who segregate men because, well, apparently our fathers have done some really bad shit, and therefore we're guilty as promised, even though you don't think that they do, and they don't want us to be part of it. You're letting them in, and typically they're fanatics, and you know what all fanatics have? They're typically quite charismatic. They're typically quite loud, they're typically quite annoying, and they're typically quite scary. And
one of the things you're not is charismatic.
Yeah, and one of the things you are not is one of those things. That's where you're failing. You're just boring and dull, and you just follow.
There you go. You're less influential than Hitler. How do you feel?
Exactly. You know, all those fanatics are Hitlers. Just remember that.
Just remember, though, that Hitler was far more successful because he was, in fact, charismatic.
Yeah.
So, there you go. How you feel being less charismatic.
Because that's the thing. I think, as we said, you let those people in there because they produce you results. Well, guess what? Hitler did as well, and that didn't turn out well for anyone.
No, but he did produce results, and that's what works.
Yeah, but it's fine if they get results.
Also,
it's okay.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It condones their actions.
That's the thing that I want to bring up as well to any feminists still listening, because at this point I feel like they should have turned it off and just go like, whatever. These men.
Nah, they don't know what to talk about.
Men.
Where's my maca frappuccino?
What do they know? They have Y chromosomes. Let's make a YouTube video about this. To all the women who are still listening, or to all the feminists who are still listening, it's not a problem that you're looking for results. Because I see what you're doing. You're trying to get more women into the film industry because you want the result of having an equal amount of men and women, if not more women in the film industry. The problem is that you're forcing those results by affirmative action. And that's something that doesn't work, because what you're doing is you're taking away people that could potentially do the job really well, who just happen to be male, and putting in people in their places who happen to be female but maybe not as competent. I remember as well this video, you might like this actually, where there was this feminist who suggested that because in Australia, I think, there weren't an equal amount of women to men in the military, which makes sense because there's the training for or the
far more
the application for women is less heavy, even at the rate what it is with the requirements, a lot of women just don't physically apply. So she suggested that there should be less, that men should be banned from applying for the military, so that there's a, and I quote, higher chance of getting the right person for the job. And the person that she was talking to, obviously a man, so what does he know, was saying, but if you filter out all of the men, are you sure that you're getting the best person for the job? Because it sounds to me like you're getting the best woman for the job when there's a man who may be better for a job. And she's saying, yes, but you don't know that maybe a woman is really good for the job, but a man is overshadowing her because he's a man. But it's like, no, but
then he's the best one for the job.
Yeah, because if he's more skilled, then he's better for the job. That's what the main thing that I'm kind of trying to get to is.
It's not about man or woman. It's about who's the best person for it. Yeah, exactly.
Equal opportunities. Yes, I fully agree. In the military, I feel like it will always be unfair because the female requirements will always be lower based on biology.
Yeah.
The fact that women, that the majority of women who apply still fail those requirements is completely up to them.
Yeah.
Because to me, it feels like they just didn't want it enough.
Yeah, because I think so the other thing is as well. I'm going to point out, because I watched this video quite recently, and probably it's controversial, but I think someone pointed out why it actually isn't that smart. Is I'm a drill sergeant here in the UK, filmed in the army, filmed a woman going through her routine on bayonet drills, for training and everything to get into the army in the first place.
Yeah.
And he was doing the whole typical thing drill sergeants doing. Obviously I think most British people point out, well, most Americans are probably more aware of it, that he's yelling at her. Drill sergeants yell at people. They're meant to simulate a war zone. Yeah. They're meant to go, fucking guys over there with guns. They're meant to do that. Yeah. Then when she started doing this,
shooting at you.
Yeah, there was even gunfire in the background. And so when she did the stabbing, she walked away, and he got her to turn around. He was even congratulating, saying, "Yes, you've done it. Go on." And then when she turned around and to go in the other direction, she was breaking down and crying. And people thought, "Oh, he'd be very sympathetic." No, he went right back at her, going, "Get fucking move on, get it." It's like, and at that point, he probably went, "She's failed. She can't do it."
Well, no. Because
she's broken down, she's crying, and that's the thing. He would have been the exact, and people looking up a fuss because she's a woman. If it had been a man, no one would have cared.
Yeah.
And the thing is, that man would have also probably failed. If he had been broken down and crying, he probably would have gone, he can't do it. He's just not capable of it.
That's the thing that people probably don't get as well. It's like, the army is not just physical strength, it's also emotional strength. You have to be able to go through it. That's the problem, for instance, with like being drafted for a war, is that
you have no preparation then.
Yeah, and like a lot of people, majority men, I'll have to say as well, go into the war, they come back, well, guess what happens? PTSD.
Yeah.
They can't fit into normal society anymore because they've been conditioned through trauma.
That's the thing. Women want equal opportunity in the army, and all I would say to them is that why? Because men only seem to do it. Do you really want to be in a situation where you are forced to kill someone? It's never a pleasant thing.
Yeah.
It's not heroic. It's soul destroyer. To have to physically take someone's life can destroy your own. I mean, that's the thing that people forget, is that I have huge respect for anyone in the army, man or woman. It is
Same.
fucking I couldn't do it. No way I could fucking
Yeah.
do it. It'd be too... I break down in seconds. And that's the thing as well, is that I'd say to women, while you want equal opportunities in the army as well, you have to come to accept that you probably are less likely physically, especially, to do it than men. Psychologically, you're probably on a better level playing field. In fact, probably more so, because you have to give childbirth, blah, blah, blah. But physical... well,
I don't know if that goes there as well. I think I mean, again, this is a
psychological.
this is a gross generalization, but I feel like if a woman isn't prepared for it, psychological stress will get to her faster than a man who's slightly less prepared. It depends on your upbringing, I suppose.
Yeah, because I think
men can break down from psychological stress quite badly. Like
I think
so badly.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, what I always say to people is that there are plenty of probably great, strong, powerful women in the army, and you want to know the reason they got there? It's not because they got equal treatment. It's because they worked fucking damn hard to get there.
Yeah.
Harder than men, not because that they're a woman. It is because physically it's harder for them. They have to work twice as hard as a man typically to even get in the army.
Yeah.
Which makes it even more rewarding for them, probably. And the thing is, oddly enough, I would say women who are in the army are probably more respected by their male soldier counterparts, thinking, fuck, they got here and we struggled to get here. Yeah. I can't imagine how hard it would have been.
I mean, in Israel it's obviously different because everyone gets drafted, but at the same time, like, that's kind of the key thing, is you get drafted when you're 18. Like, that's what happens. So, like, when you're 15, you already start working out and training to get to the physical point. That goes for men and women equally. Because women stay for less long. That's not necessarily true, because my mom, for instance, did her 2 years and then decided that she wanted to go on for a little bit longer. So you go on for a bit longer, but the minimum is 2 years for a woman still. So you still have to, like, physically prepare for that. And when you see videos of, like, female IDF soldiers, they generally, like, do their work with a smile. Yeah. And I'm like, fuck me, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, like, exactly. Because I think that's the thing, is that it's one of those things where I will say to people that, to women, the simple reality is I know you're probably thinking, oh, you know, it would easily sound probably better for you guys coming from a woman, but the reality is you have to prepare for the fact that you physically can't do certain things men can do. Just as equally as I'll admit, there are certain things even we can't do what you can do.
Yeah.
I can't give birth, literally. Just like you can't get someone pregnant, literally. I mean, that's the point, is that saying...
Not necessarily true, you can douse them with sperm. You know, eventually something will go through. You know, just go to a sperm bank.
Yeah, fair enough.
Get a tube. The thing is, physically, like, the thing is, not even, but there's a lot of things that, actually I saw this...
you can't do, but physically are harder,
I saw this episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air about this, kind of, I actually kind of liked it a lot, where they kind of swapped, like, gender-specific roles. So, like, for instance, I think Will Smith got, like, a fitness bike, and it had to be constructed. And girls said, the girls said, that's easy. So they were like, why don't you build the fitness bike, and then we'll sew a dress or something. And the whole episode was kind of like trying to show that both are, and that's the thing, like, they were able to build the fitness bike, no problem. And the boys were able to sew a dress, no problem. Those parts fully depend on skills rather than gender. That's what, and gender, again, I interchange with sex, but yeah, gender. Because it's just only two anyway, am I right?
Yeah.
But like, for instance, like, there's a lot of things that women are naturally, like, have a kind of it's like choosing a race in a video game, an RPG game, is like, there's a certain amount of skills that are kind of pre-birth with you. Women are much more empathetic. Yeah. It doesn't mean that men can't be empathetic.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's more, a woman is more likely to, like, actually, like, understand people's feelings and be more open towards them, and in that same sense be more accepted by other people.
Because also,
especially if she's hot, because let's not forget, there's the beauty privilege.
Yeah.
Which exists in both men and women. Yeah. And women.
I will say, so I think I will say to people is that I've not noticed a trend, but I think, oddly enough, it's not 100% accurate assessment. You shouldn't take anything. It's just something that I kind of not generally believe, but something that I think is something that to be considered is that in a situation where there's a mother and father, the mother will do anything to protect her child.
Yeah.
She'll be willing to kill someone, move a mountain, whatever. A father will be willing to sacrifice himself to protect his family.
Yeah.
And not to say that a mother wouldn't, but it feels
It's
like in most
different, though.
situations that fathers will do it because they realize the children need their mother. Of the two parents. And obviously it's not completely true, but it sometimes feels like the father's the more expendable one of the two. Which is why typically in a lot of
believe that
movies,
in a way,
which is because typically in movies, or in a lot of situations, it always feels like out of the two parents, the father seems like the one who Batman, Uncle Ben, Jonathan Kent. It's always the father who dies. I mean, well, Batman, both of his parents died, but still, it feels like it's always the father figure who dies. Not because it means more. It's because people realize you need that maternal figure to make you human.
Yeah, but that's the thing as well. Is like I know that in my youth as well, I generally tended to gravitate more towards my mother anyway.
Yeah, same. Same.
Because my mom was more like about, bringing me up in a sort of healthy way, like how to take care of myself and like how to be healthy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But my dad was more about like the discipline and the manners and like how to talk to people. Even though I would just say, in some ways he's kind of inept at that himself, so maybe he wasn't the best teacher of like how to deal with society.
I've noticed the same trends, is that fathers seem to teach you in certain theatres they think they're professionals at, like manners, discipline, and all that sort of stuff. Yet, first off, while that's good for life, it's not essential. What a mother will teach you is essential.
Kind of good, though.
It's good, absolutely. I don't deny that having good manners is. But I do agree as well. It seems like the things your father teaches you, he seems to forget, whereas your mother teaches you how to take care of yourself. Yeah. And also, I have also grown. I idolize my mother. My father is he's the breadwinner, but my mother is the one who took care of me, and for that reason, I've always sort of generally gravitated towards her. And also, quickly to anyone thinking, well, she grew up at a time where she couldn't have had a career. No, she had a career. She gave up her career to take care of my brother and then me.
My mom actually also had a career, still does in a way. It's like it's not really a career, but she does freelance jobs and she's absolutely happy with it.
Yeah, because I think also the thing is, a lot of the women who I've noticed who often speak about this sort of stuff aren't mothers themselves.
Yes.
And the thing is, and it's the same also for men. The men who don't speak about this sort of stuff aren't fathers themselves. And I always tell people and that's why I don't typically try to talk about it, because I always say to people, it all changes when you have your kid.
Yeah.
It all fucking changes. Because I will guarantee to most women listening to this, if you don't have a kid and you think we're wrong, the moment you have a kid, your life will change. Because you want to protect that baby no matter what. It's the same for a man. When that kid is born, it's not just about protecting the kid, it's protecting the mother.
Yeah.
Because you realize in that moment, that baby needs their mother. Because the point is, literally in the first few years, for a few months, the baby needs the mother to feed. They don't need you. The fuck do they need the man for? Nothing. You're literally there just to protect the two of them. That is literally the sole purpose of your job, to protect the both of them.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Is like I feel like that's actually what dads really do. Is like first, like your mother brings you up and makes sure that you're like up to health and like able to function as a normal human being. And then later on, as you get older, your dad is trying to teach you how to protect yourself. So in a way, he doesn't really have to do it anymore, because eventually, as a human being, you have to take care of yourself. That's why, boys get punished if they don't perform well in school, if they don't act well with people, and that's why generally girls are told by their dads that their boyfriend is a sex crazy maniac, even though he might be the nicest guy in the world, is because at the end of the day, dads want to be protective and make sure that their children can take care of themselves before they start doing particular things that might potentially be harmful in a way. Yeah,
because I think also the other thing is, you also see the stereotypes of people going, oh, why do fathers always have to take their kids out fishing and hunting and so on? It's because I think it's a similar sort of thing. They're teaching them how to
take care
fathers
of themselves.
Fathers would teach their kids how to hunt.
Yeah.
To take care of themselves, and it's that sort of. Obviously, they shouldn't do that as much anymore because we don't fucking need to hunt.
Yeah, but fishing though.
But fishing's good and therapeutic.
Fishing is a good skill to have.
Yeah.
Because it teaches you patience.
Yeah.
And alertness when it's necessary. Because mean, I've gone fishing with my dad before. I actually
Yeah.
kind of enjoy it as well. Is like, obviously, first you have to wait until the fish comes, but it's kind of, if you do it correctly, it's kind of suspenseful because you're waiting for it. Then the fish bites, and then all the action starts. You know, you have to be ready for it. So in a way, it's kind of like a good skill in that sense to have, a good experience to have, because later in life there's the same things where like often enough, nothing is like in life is gonna happen. You're gonna have to be patient until something does happen.
Yeah.
But then when something does happen, you have to be ready for it.
Also, I will say.
Damn, so deep.
Yeah, I know. They're about to get deeper. Well, I hate this. Because also, I'm saying this to all of you, with believing that all of you will have a partner to have to handle all this with. It is fucking much harder for people who are a single parent. Because the thing is, they have to be the both maternal and I guess what would be the male version? Because paternal, maternal and paternal figure in that child's life. You have to be the overprotective one, yet the empathetic and understanding one. You have to play both roles.
I feel like this is usually mothers.
Yeah, which it
no.
is usually. I mean, oddly, it can be fathers. Which, oddly enough, at that point, I think it's even harder because they really can't understand almost how to be a maternal figure in some ways because they think, I never gave birth to this thing. How do I understand how it works? I mean, whereas with a mother, it seems like it's a little easier for them, perhaps. Also, mainly because it's probably more common. Therefore, there's probably more ways that they can learn about how to do it themselves. But it's one of those things where I say, life, in this sense, will always, you can make your decision, you can make your judgments about how women should have to do it, blah blah blah. It all changes, as I've just said, as we've just been talking about. Once you have that kid, or even a dog, or a cat, it takes not being a mother or a father, but it takes discipline and it takes patience and it takes all those things to take care of an animal.
Yeah.
Just as much as a kid. Because oddly enough, my cat, just quickly before you went on it, she's fat as fuck. She's thick. And in this situation, my mother's become the paternal figure. My father's become the maternal figure. He actually likes feeding her and grooming her and petting her and, doing all those sorts of things. But the thing is, she's fat, so he can't keep feeding her because she's borderline obese. And my mother's actually the disciplined one going, no, I'm trying to make sure that eating. Stop feeding the fucking thing. Yeah. So it's one of those weird things where she's the one being disciplined and stopping the child from eating. Yeah. Whereas my father's like, oh no, it's fine. She only lives once, and that's the point. She only lives once. Do you want that life to be where?
9 times.
9 times, yeah. Do you want that to be the time where we have to constantly carrying her around because she's too fat to walk herself?
You know what I just realized as well, like something completely different, is that Thanos and Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park are completely not in agreement about each other about life. Because Thanos is saying if life is left unchecked, it will destroy itself. But Goldblum is saying life will find a way. It cannot be contained, Yeah. I just thought to myself just now, like, well, which one is it?
I'm on the side of life finds a way.
I feel like life is going to end at some point anyway, but I feel like maybe that's not something that we should necessarily interfere with. Yeah.
I think that's the thing as well. Is I said to people to everyone who wants equality and all those sorts of things, the simple fact is that sort of change takes time and therefore patience. Yeah. If you rush certain things, it ends badly. If you escalate certain things, it ends badly. And I think that's the thing Thanos is about to find out in Avengers 4. He escalated it, and it's going to end badly for him. And I think that's the thing, is that oddly enough, I would agree with him. That oddly enough, actually, though, I think Earth does actually have enough resources. We just can't reach all of them because it's so deep in the Earth's crust, typically, and we don't have the technology to reach it yet.
But also because we're wasting resources.
Also, we're wasting resources. Plus, we have planets near us with infinite amount of resources. Plus, we have renewable energy now. Just everyone seems to be kicking up a big fuss about how we're going to be extinct in like 50 years. It's like, no, we'll be fine. We're fine now. We'll be fine then. Don't worry. Yeah, there may be less of us, but that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing.
To be fair, the whole thing as well with technological advancement, I always thought that in movies where like there's some that profess that in 100 years everything's going to be exactly the same as it is now. There's some that profess that like in 20 years we're going to have the most advanced shit that anyone has ever seen, like all flying cars, colonies on Mars, stuff like that. it's like always funny because, as it turns out, technology does develop and it gets better and it gets really good, but overall society doesn't really change. I mean, the only biggest change I feel in society
is North Korea and South Korea reaching a peace agreement.
No, that's the most ambitious crossover in the history of anything, but even more ambitious than Asda and Sainsbury. But in my opinion, like the biggest social development in the last 20 years, if not more, is social media.
Oh, yeah.
Like suddenly everyone's opinion is much more important, and like much or feels that way.
I think
weighs more, and there's more ways to insult people.
Yeah.
And there's more people to insult.
Because also, I would say people look at AI and all these things and say, oh, this is life changing. It's like, no, the biggest life changing event has already come and passed. And they go, what is it?
It's the Zuck.
It's what?
It's the Zuckerberg.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's the invention of the internet. Everything you know about the modern day has been advanced by that. Information, technology, all of it has been affected by the internet.
Exactly.
It's the most powerful tool we've created. To be able to contact and reach someone on the other side of the globe is a powerful weapon. And and I always point out to people, what's the first thing to go, when aliens invade? The internet or electricity. Yeah. And you want to know what happens after that? What? Literally everything else goes.
Yeah.
That's the point. Everything else is connected.
But that's the thing, that's not even the aliens, that's us, like, wrecking shit because we have no idea what to do. We'll literally be monkeys flinging poop at windows.
Yeah.
But like on the inside of windows, not even the outside, because
I can't figure out my door.
Because suddenly we don't.
Siri, how does my door work? Siri. Siri.
Oh fuck! I need to check with my mom if she's okay. No signal. No signal.
No.
Oh, what of the podcast?
No.
You know what's funny is like at that point, like all kinds of like celebrities and stuff like that, they won't matter, because we don't know what they're doing anymore. We don't know anything about what, if there's no electricity, there's no way for us to actually admire their work in any way. So suddenly that's gonna be like really weird.
Yeah. I think. Damn. Well, you know what? I just want to get on that big fucking rocket, as it's called, and go to Mars with.
Yeah, sounds about right.
That way I can get away from all the stupid people.
The thing is, I kind of want that, but at the same time, I'm like, well, if I fly away from everything, like, I'll have to find a completely new meaning to life, and it's going to be.
Yeah, that's true.
But
to be fair, no, I would go there and go, but you're giving up a job in the film industry. Am I though? And I'll get there. You gave up a job in the film industry. Did I though? And then just be like a whole series of Mars movies. Like, how did you do it? There's literally no competition on Mars.
True. Actually, that's the thing. It's like
there's no competition.
Steal some shit. Cameras, lights, generators.
We only pack what's essential. We have only got a limited amount of space.
Cameras, lights, generators.
What's this? Oxygen? We don't need oxygen. Stick a camera in there. What's this? Food? Don't need food. Stick a boom pole in there.
Sonia for 7. Now you're talking my language.
But anyway, I was going to say something else really powerful and meaningful. Can't remember. Actually, no. What it was, I think we can end on this perhaps. Is the next big advancement, I generally do believe, after the internet, is space colonization. Because after everything else at this point is just because of the internet. Space colonization is something that's been on the map for a while. And the moment we colonize Mars, I say, there you go. Because that's the thing. We are now in a situation where we have transcended Earth. The moment where we can transcend it to the point where we can leave it and start even going further, that is the moment the human race has become more than what it originally believed it could.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like I'm mostly thinking about like the biggest advancement to me is the way society works.
Yeah.
Right? So the biggest advancement at some point was, I mean, cinema not necessarily, but radio. Huge. Because suddenly we can hear like all kinds of things that are being broadcast from anywhere else.
Yeah.
Then TV, huge, because now we can actually see all kinds of things. The media took huge strands of it.
Yeah.
Then computers, kind of big because it changed the way we did our work in a lot of ways. Then the internet, huge, because suddenly we got websites like Facebook and stuff like that, which completely changed how we interact with people and how we interact with news all over the world. And now I feel like
The only next real big one that's possible in the foreseeable future is AI.
Yeah, but
But which is once again a result of many other things already happening.
The thing is, the previous advancements are, I feel, the way we interact with other people.
Yeah.
How is AI going to change the way we interact with each other?
I think that's the thing, is that saying it's a big advancement is because we're no longer interacting with each other. We're interacting with something we have created which is intelligent as us.
Which is basically just creating an echo chamber for ourselves.
Yeah, but also it's one of those things where I say, if we created an AI which is that intelligent to basically emulate a human and then become a human of its own, at that point I would even say, at that point we've transcended humanity. We're gods at this point. Which is not a good thing to be.
Yeah. Actually, I feel like maybe a way that maybe like the big advancement maybe is VR, because we don't know it yet. But it is a different way to interact with people, because now it's almost like
you're physically there, but you're
kind of, yeah. And
I think that's the thing, is saying to people, you know, all the next new big things when you think about, oh, there'll be teleportation, there'll be flying cars, self-driving cars, and it was like, oh, those are very impressive and big, but the problem is
teleportation maybe though.
Hmm?
Teleportation maybe though, because again, it makes everything so much smaller.
Yeah, like, I think that's the thing, is that the next two real big advancements is teleportation, and because I think the thing is, once, like I said before, if we did colonize Mars, I'd say to people, the thing is, you're talking about, oh, how we interact with each other. We're interacting not with each other, but with another planet.
Yeah.
We have essentially we're no longer planetary bound.
This is true.
That's the thing, is that's the point where I say we're no longer the people of Earth. We are the human race, because currently that is all we are. We are the people of Earth because that's all we are on Earth. The moment we're on Mars, it's like, well, we're not Earthbound anymore. We are beyond that. We're spacebound. We are now the human race going across the stars and it's infinite void. And at that point, because I say to people, the longer we spend on Earth, the lower our chances of survival are.
Yeah.
The moment we leave Earth and start colonizing other worlds is the moment our survival increases exponentially, because then we have their resources, we have the ability to reach other worlds, we have the ability to expand to a point where, you know, people go, oh, what about overpopulation? It's no longer a problem, just colonize a planet.
Yeah, exactly.
You shift half the population there.
Cool. I think that's a good wrap for our afternoon of discussion, because it's not really dawn of discussion anymore. Yeah. It's like after everything else. So
the afternoon discussion, I like that.
Yeah, it's instead of DOD, it's AOD, which stands for other things as well, such as Age of Destruction.
Or Anal of Destruction.
Yeah, A always stands for anal, so.
A always stands for anal.
So the anal of discussion.
Always remember that, kids. A always stands for anal. So if you get an A on your report, you know.
You know what's coming next.
You know what's next.
Spread them wide.
Oh God.
Cool. Well, before we get any worse, even though I feel like in this episode we've covered some really like thin ice, but I feel like we still stayed above, you know.
Well, we have, at least to ourselves.
Yeah.
To, you know, everyone else, you know.
Everyone else thinks we're racist Nazis.
Yeah, exactly.
Who are also misogynist and also homophobic.
Yeah.
Because I feel like gay people shouldn't want to work in a place where they're not accepted, but you know, that's just me.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much for listening, and see you next time.